In the sprawling tapestry of historical symbolism, few images stand out as boldly as the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
4 riders, 4 seals, 25% of Earth's population dead. The book of Revelation gives us the exact sequence, and when you match it against Daniel's timeline, something terrifying emerges. The first horseman may have already mounted. The fourth begins his ride in less than 7 years. And the mathematics prove we're not speculating, we're watching prophecy unfold on a calendar that was set 2,600 years ago. Most pastors skip Revelation 6, too controversial, too scary, too difficult to explain to a comfortable congregation that doesn't want to hear about judgment. But here's what they're missing. The 4 horsemen aren't random disasters. They're not symbolic poetry. They're a precise sequence of events that Jesus Christ himself triggers by breaking 7 seals on a scroll. And each seal releases specific judgments in exact order. Revelation 6 verse 1 says, "And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth, conquering, and to conquer." Most people assume this is Jesus because he rides a white horse later in Revelation 19. They're wrong. Notice what this rider carries, a bow with no arrows mentioned. In ancient warfare, this represented diplomatic conquest, not military. He wins through agreements, not battle. And here's the detail that unlocks everything. A crown was given unto him, not earned, not inherited, given. This is the Antichrist at the beginning of Daniel's 70th week, and he rises to power exactly how Daniel 9:27 predicts, through a covenant, a peace agreement. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. That word confirm in Hebrew is gabar. It means to strengthen or enforce an existing agreement. The Antichrist doesn't create peace in the Middle East. He enforces a deal already on the table. Pay attention to the timing here. The moment that covenant is signed, the 7-year tribulation clock starts ticking. The seals begin opening. The first horseman rides. And here's what makes 2025 so significant. If the Hosea timeline is accurate and the mathematics are undeniable, then Israel's 3rd day begins in 2025. That same year marks 77 years from Israel's rebirth in 1948. 7 times 11. Biblically, 7 represents completion, 11 represents disorder and incompletion, judgment. 77 combines both. The first horseman doesn't bring obvious destruction, he brings false peace. The world exhales, tensions ease, leaders praise the breakthrough. Jesus warned about this exact moment in Matthew 24:4-5. "Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many." Deception launches the final 7 years. Not war, not famine, not plague, peace. And that peace agreement, the one the whole world celebrates, becomes the trigger that releases hell on earth. But the white horse is just the beginning. The second horseman takes that false peace and rips it to shreds. The moment the world thinks peace has finally arrived, the second seal breaks. Revelation 6 verses 3-4. "And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon, to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." Read that phrase again. Take peace from the earth. You can't take something that isn't there. This confirms the first horseman established peace, at least the appearance of it. The Antichrist's covenant creates global calm. Weapons are lowered. Treaties are signed. Then this rider destroys it all. The red horse represents war, but not just any war. The Greek word for great sword here is makaira megale, a slaughter knife, a weapon for butchering. This isn't military combat with rules and regulations. This is chaos. Nations turning on nations, ethnic groups slaughtering each other. The text says they should kill one another. Not enemies kill enemies, but neighbors killing neighbors. Civil wars, regional conflicts, tribal violence, genocide. And here's the terrifying question. How does peace vanish so quickly after a covenant supposedly guarantees it? Because the covenant was a lie from the beginning. Daniel 8:27 reveals the Antichrist's strategy. By peace shall destroy many. He uses the peace agreement as a weapon. One side violates terms or appears to. Another faction retaliates. The carefully balanced agreement collapses. And when it does, the violence isn't controlled, it's exponential. Look at our current world. Tensions between nuclear powers, ethnic conflicts barely contained, economic desperation creating powder kegs everywhere. One failed agreement could unleash everything at once. The second horseman doesn't start war. He removes the restraint that's been holding war back. Jesus described this exact progression in Matthew 24:6-7. Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. First rumors, then reality. The red horse tramples the earth in blood, and historians estimate wars during the tribulation could claim billions of lives when combined with what's coming next. Because while humanity tears itself apart through violence, the third horseman rides in with something even more devastating. Economic collapse so severe that food becomes more valuable than gold.
When the third seal opens, everything changes. Revelation 6:5-6. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Black represents famine. The scales represent rationing. But here's what most people miss. This isn't just food shortage. This is economic manipulation. A penny in this passage is a denarius, a full day's wages in the first century. 1 measure of wheat is about 1 quart, barely enough for 1 person for 1 day. Read that again. A man works all day and earns exactly enough to feed himself, not his wife, not his children, just himself. That's not famine from crop failure. That's hyperinflation, currency collapse, economic systems disintegrating. And notice the final phrase, hurt not the oil and the wine. These are luxury items. The wealthy still have access to fine things while the masses starve. The economic collapse doesn't affect everyone equally. It crushes the poor and middle class while elites remain insulated. Sound familiar? We're watching this system build right now. Digital currencies ready to launch, central bank control expanding, the gap between rich and poor widening to historic levels. The technology to ration food, control purchasing, and monitor every transaction already exists. All it needs is a crisis to justify implementation, and the third horseman provides that crisis. War from the second seal destroys infrastructure, supply chains shatter, agricultural regions become battlefields, transportation networks collapse. Then the Antichrist offers the solution, a new economic system, centralized control, digital tracking, guaranteed access to food and resources for those who comply. Revelation 13:16-17 describes it perfectly. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark. The black horse creates the desperation. The mark provides the solution. But refusing the mark means starvation, and accepting it means damnation. That's the impossible choice billions will face during those 7 years. and still, the worst horseman hasn't ridden yet. The fourth seal unleashes something so catastrophic that Scripture dedicates more detail to it than any other horseman. Revelation 6, 7-8. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a pale horse, and he that sat on him was named Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and hunger, and death, and with the beasts of the earth. Stop right there. The fourth part of the earth. Do the mathematics. Current world population is approximately 8 billion people. 1/4 equals 2 billion deaths. 2 billion human beings dead from the combined effects of this single seal. But here's the detail that should shake you. The Greek word for pale is chloros. It means greenish yellow, the color of a decomposing corpse, the color of pestilence and plague. This isn't just death. This is disease spreading so rapidly that bodies pile up faster than they can be buried. Notice the writer's name is Death with a capital D. This is personified death itself riding across the planet. And hell, Hades, follows immediately behind, swallowing souls. The text lists 4 killing methods: sword, hunger, death, and beasts of the earth. Sword, we've seen that with the red horse, continued warfare. Hunger, the black horse's famine intensifies. Death, the Greek word here is thanatos, often referring specifically to plague and pestilence, disease outbreaks, pandemics that make COVID look minor. And then the final one that no one talks about, beasts of the earth. In a collapsed civilization where infrastructure fails and human population concentrations shift, wild animals reclaim territory. Packs of predators, disease-carrying rodents multiplying unchecked, venomous creatures spreading into populated areas. Nature itself turns hostile. Here's what's stunning. We just experienced a global pandemic. We watched supply chains break. We saw how quickly civilization's thin veneer can crack. That wasn't the pale horse. That was a preview, a warning shot. The fourth horseman brings all of it simultaneously: war, famine, plague, and ecological collapse, operating together in a death spiral that consumes 1/4 of Earth's population. And this happens in the first half of the tribulation, before the trumpet judgments even begin. Jesus warned in Matthew 24, 21-22, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved." Without divine intervention, humanity would face extinction. But here's the question that changes everything. When does this start? If we can identify when the first horseman rides, when that covenant is signed, we can calculate the timeline for everything that follows. And the mathematics point to a 7-year window beginning between 2025 and 2032. Here's where the four horsemen connect directly to the precise prophetic timeline Scripture has been revealing all along. Daniel 9:27 gives us the framework. "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease." 1 week equals 7 years. The Antichrist confirms a covenant, likely involving Israel and surrounding nations, and that signature starts the clock. The moment ink touches paper, the first seal breaks. The white horse rides. The 7-year tribulation begins. And here's where Hosea's prophecy becomes critical. Hosea 6:2 declares, "After 2 days will he revive us. In the 3rd day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight." 2 days in God's prophetic calendar equals 2,000 years. 2 Peter 3:8 confirms, "1 day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day." Jesus was crucified approximately 2,000 years ago, around 32 AD depending on scholarly calculations. Add 2,000 years to 32 AD, you arrive at 2032. But the tribulation is 7 years long, which means it must begin 7 years before 2032. That brings us to 2025. Now layer in Israel's rebirth. The nation was re-established May 14, 1948, after nearly 2,000 years of exile, exactly as Ezekiel prophesied. Jesus said in Matthew 24:32-34, "Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled." The fig tree represents Israel. The generation that sees Israel reborn will not pass away before all prophecy is fulfilled. How long is a biblical generation? Psalm 90:10 defines it. "The days of our years are 80 years and 10, and if by reason of strength they be 80 years, 70 to 80 years. From 1948, add 70 years, you get 2018. Add 80 years, you arrive at 2028. We are inside that window right now. The generation is not passing, it's in its final years. Daniel's 70th week must begin soon, or the mathematical precision of Scripture breaks down, and Scripture does not break down. Every prophecy regarding Christ's first coming was fulfilled to the exact detail. The mathematical probability of that happening by chance is astronomically impossible. The same precision applies to his second coming. The four horsemen aren't random judgments scattered through history. They are sequential events, triggered by a specific covenant, signed at a specific time. And all the biblical mathematics, Hosea's 2 days, Israel's generation, Daniel's 70 weeks, converge on the same narrow time frame, 2025 to 2032. 7 years, one final week of Daniel's prophecy. The question is no longer if these events will unfold. The question is whether we're spiritually prepared for what's about to begin. Because the signs aren't just in ancient scripture anymore, they're in today's headlines. Turn on the news right now, and you're watching the stage being set for every single horseman. The white horse requires a Middle East peace covenant. Right now, the Abraham Accords have normalized relations between Israel and multiple Arab nations. Negotiations continue for a comprehensive regional peace deal. Saudi Arabia waits in the wings. The framework exists. The players are positioned. All that's missing is the final signature and the charismatic leader to enforce it. The red horse takes peace from the earth. We're witnessing the greatest military buildup since World War II. Russia and Ukraine locked in conflict, China threatening Taiwan, Iran developing nuclear capability, North Korea launching missiles, NATO expansion, proxy wars, alliances shifting. The powder keg isn't theoretical anymore. It's packed and waiting for a spark. The black horse brings economic collapse. Global debt has exceeded $300 trillion. Central banks are printing currency at unprecedented rates. Inflation is crushing middle-class families worldwide. And the infrastructure for economic control is already built. Digital currencies being rolled out by major nations, biometric identification systems, social credit scores in operation. The technology to fulfill Revelation 13's mark of the beast exists right now, waiting to be implemented. The pale horse kills through plague, famine, war, and beasts. We just lived through a global pandemic that shut down the entire planet. We watched hospitals overflow, supply chains collapse, governments assume emergency powers. Climate patterns are destabilizing agricultural regions, droughts in some areas, floods in others. locust swarms destroying crops in Africa and Asia, disease-carrying mosquitoes expanding their range, antibiotic-resistant bacteria spreading, scientists warning of the next pandemic being a question of when, not if. Every mechanism the fourth horseman uses is already in motion. But here's the most stunning sign of all, the one Jesus specifically highlighted. Matthew 24:12, "And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." Look at the church today: moral compromise, doctrinal apostasy, entire denominations abandoning biblical truth for cultural acceptance. 2 Timothy 4:3 warned, "For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine." That time is now. The stage isn't being set anymore. The actors are in position. The curtain is rising. And when you see all these signs converging simultaneously, Scripture says something specific is about to happen.
Jesus gave us the key to understanding prophetic timing in Matthew 24:33. "So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors." Not one sign, not two signs, all these things happening together. And that's exactly what we're witnessing. Israel reborn as a nation? Check. Jerusalem under Jewish control since 1967? Check. Knowledge increasing exponentially, just as Daniel 12:4 predicted? Check. Global communication networks allowing the whole world to witness events simultaneously, as Revelation 11:9 requires? Check. The technology for a one-world economic system? Check. Apostasy in the church? Check. Wars and rumors of wars? Check. Earthquakes in diverse places increasing in frequency? Check. Every single prophetic indicator Jesus and the apostles described is visible right now. But here's what makes this moment different from every other generation that thought they were living in the end times: the mathematical precision. Israel's rebirth in 1948 started a prophetic clock that previous generations didn't have. The converging timelines, Hosea's 2 days, the generation prophecy, Daniel's 70 weeks, create a mathematical window that cannot be ignored. For 2,000 years, believers have looked for Christ's return. They were hoping, watching, anticipating. We're not just hoping anymore. We're calculating, and the calculations point to the same 7-year window that current events are setting up, the same period when Middle East peace deals are being negotiated, the same time frame when global systems are being positioned for centralized control. Prophecy and current events aren't running parallel anymore. They're colliding. And when the first horseman finally rides, most of the world won't even recognize what's beginning until the second seal breaks and it's too late to prepare. Because here's what nobody's telling you about the four horsemen: they don't ride alone. Revelation reveals a sequence: seals, then trumpets, then bowls, each wave of judgment more devastating than the last. The horsemen are just the beginning, and the exact moment they begin riding is hidden in a calculation almost everyone has missed. Daniel 12:11 gives a specific number of days from a specific event, and when you align that with the Hebrew calendar and the abomination of desolation that occurs at the midpoint of the tribulation, the start date becomes shockingly precise. But what that verse reveals about who survives the fourth horseman and why most Christians have completely misunderstood the rapture's timing will change everything you think you know about